welcome everyone to Mindful Mondays with Laura Cross, where we are your resource for education, connection, and collaboration. Now, if you are a business owner, small or big, your logo and brand is more than just a catchy phrase. It should represent your true essence, who you are, what you are aligned with. And all too often, business owners get lost chasing shiny objects like the next big thing or catchphrase or what they think might attract clients and rush up with, maybe they rush to come up with a name and a logo, or maybe they're not particularly creative. Well, if any of those scenarios describe you or someone you know, then you are going to love my guest today. Jeff Farinosi with Tiny Beast Studios is here to join us. And at Tiny Beast Studios, Jeff doesn't just create logos or designs. He breathes the life personality. So we want you to be able to say goodbye to cookie cutter designs and help to be a bespoke brand identity that screams authenticity. So Jeff is joining us today to share his journey and creative vision and why it's important to be mindful about your logo and brand. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited about this. I don't do this often. I want to do this more and more in my career because I think it is super important to educate people and to bring brand awareness out onto the spotlight a little bit more. And I also just want to give you kudos to you and what you're doing, all that compassion in your heart. You've gone through so much in your life, and for you to just pour all of that compassion, all that empathy to all your clients. And you want to hear everybody's story like mine. I thank you very much for having me.
Oh, thank you. No, I appreciate the kind words too. And I love what you do. And I will say, truth be told, you are looking at the gentleman that helped me create my logo and brand. I will tell you just real quickly before we jump into his journey, we had met at a networking event and we were talking and he was honest. I had a thing and he says, have you ever thought about that? Because your brand kind of looks like clip art. And I never really looked at it that way until he said that. But enough about me. I would just want to say it was fantastic. I loved meeting him and absolutely loved what it's done for me. But Jeff, can you tell us, you used to work in a corporate career like a lot of us did before we went to be a business or owner or an entrepreneur. What inspired you to transition from a corporate career to freelance design?
Okay. I got a pretty good story actually. So I'll start off by saying this probably applies to many of us, but the pandemic did a number to us. And this kind of allowed me to actually kind of veer into a direction that was more ideal for me and my creative prowess. So I would say that, just the freelance, I first want to just give a shout out to my corporate too. I'm not like bashing corporations or anything. Some people are suited for corporations. I've built my career from it. And so I want to give out a shout out to Apple Vacations. I'm from Illinois, for being the rock to my career. I learned so much in the marketing department and how to truly like work with a team too. I've also have great experience working with the printers. I've hit up many trade shows, as you probably have, and dinner seminars. I just enjoyed all the people too. I do miss that for sure. Being a freelancer, where my office is here with my dog staring at me all the time. Coffee shops, breweries. I love beer, so I just sip beer. That's it. Yeah. So I also was in a department that was with like 80% women. So I'd say that my communication and listening skills has definitely improved so that's a great thing. And of course the travel benefits working there. And I'm sure you have great travel benefits with White Sands, at least have had it.
Oh, I still do. I don't give that up ever.
So yeah, I'd say freelance overall has put me back into the fine arts side of things too. And it's allowed me to dive deep into storytelling. I love writing now. That's one thing that's kind of manifested in my career, is being able to tell the story behind it, because it's so important. So at Apple, it was one product, which was a fantastic product, as you know. I mean, beaches, dolphins, hello. But with freelance, it's like it's a vast ocean of industry, skills, services, and products. I'm learning so much from all the amazing clients like yourself, and just being able to put their personality and voice on center stage is truly fulfilling. So.
Yeah, you kind of trade for one another. And I'm not bashing, corporate either. I'm just saying, because like I said, big or small, even corporations have to have a logo and a brand. I just think sometimes people get caught up in wanting to catch on that next big phrase, whether it's health or well-being or mindfulness, whatever they're catching on to. It's like the new catchphrase and everybody like runs with it. But then sometimes they start to get so unaligned with who they are and what they stand for. And so,
yeah, agreed.
Yeah. But tell us about your art background and how it influenced your approach to branding.
I would say that I'm very fortunate to have had a skill and a talent my entire life. There's a lot of people who are still lost, at a later age and are still trying to find themselves. And I just say, keep pushing, and keep trying new things, and you never know where you're going to go. But, I'd say it really started off, just popping out of mom's womb with the paintbrush. I always try to tell people, going through elementary school, junior highs, all that kind of stuff. I thrived in art classes, junior high, all my teachers, I obviously got to give kudos to all them. What really the tipping point too, when I really was like, okay, I think I'm good at this, is high school. I won many awards. I was away at a volleyball tournament and my dad had to accept the awards. He's like, I got tired. I was like, good. Yay. Thank you, Dad. But yeah, and it was funny because I was looking back at some photos and stuff and I still have the art. I probably should have brought it to show you, but show and tell. But I won awards in logo design, sculpture, metal making, and drawing too. So it was a lot of fun. And so then I headed over to Illinois State University, great art department there. So go Redbirds, if anybody's from Illinois State there. Where I decided to stay an extra year. So yes, I was a 5-year guy, but guess what? I ended up with a graphic design and painting degree. So that was a lot of fun. I took so many classes, lithography, intaglio, photography, acting. It was really, really fun. So then I would say that like first, back in high school or maybe even earlier, I remember like zoning in on like billboards, magazine ads, seeing these logos and just like having a curiosity for why they went that route, why they said that kind of stuff. And it was pretty young and I thought that was cool. And the one thing I could say is I think most artists would love to live the rest of their lives as an artist, but there's a term called starving artist for a reason.
I was just going to ask you because I'm like, you had all this creativity, you had all this art and talent. And I had a previous guest one time who was known for being a doodler, and she can tell you to make doodler. But it's amazing how we have all this, but yet somehow, and you even got a degree in it, but somehow it kind of seems to have gotten squashed, and you wound up working a different path, and you've come, I guess, full circle, right? But
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
Great. I love that full circle for sure. So I would say 1991, 92 is when, I don't know. I'm just really excited about it. I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
No, but I mean, it's amazing how we have all this creativity and stuff in us. And stuff. And I don't know whether people, if I think we're pretty close to the same generation. If you were kind of told that you would never make money at that, or the whole starving artist thing, were you not supported, or were you just highly suggested to go get a job and go work for somebody? Or
thanks. You brought that back. Yeah. So what I was going to say was, that was kind of like the boom of like graphic design. Graphic design has been around for a long time, but the computer world started appearing. And that's where I was like, you know what? It sounds like that's where I can make money. And because I've already had like an affinity toward, logos and just all that kind of advertising, I was like, you know what? Maybe I should pursue this and see. And then always, in college, it was great because I was able to have all these fine arts, other classes like that. So, but I continued with it and I ended up falling in love with it. So here I am. And trust me, I've had moments where I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this again. Should I go into landscape design? Should I do any other kind of design or whatever? But it stuck with me, and I'm glad I'm here. And I think just freelancing, I hope I can do this the rest of my life. So.
Oh, I'm glad you did too, because it shows when someone is truly passionate about what they do. And, which you are when it comes to logos and brands. I mean, I guess that's one of the things that kind of, attracted me. I was like, that just, it's like, okay, this person like really cares about helping me to show who I am. Because sometimes I wasn't even sure who it was, but you have processes that, help all that. So I think it's amazing. And I'm glad you did.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. I've had some advice where, because I can be upfront, and I wish I could be without like being offensive or anything. Like somebody said, you should be like the Gordon Ramsay of design, where you're like, you know what, your logo sucks. You see me. Yeah, your business is going to burn down because of, the logo just isn't working out. The branding's not there. No, but I just can't. I'm just like too much of a.
I was going to say, FYI, Jeff is not that harsh.
Yeah,
you might find it harsh, but hey, he asked first if you could say, what he was going. I'm like, we open ourselves, but you have to be open, to criticism, good or bad,
absolutely.
because otherwise you just keep doing things and you wind up maybe misrepresenting yourself or not being really who you are.
Yeah.
So how do you infuse mindfulness and well-being into your design process?
Oh, I love this question. This is excellent. Because I hold this heart close to my heart too. I guess the lucky thing for me is that art therapy. It really is. It's like attending your garden. It's yoga. It's meditation. It's walking on a beach. Of course, I have clients that take some of the joy out of it, but it just makes me more energized to want, it just makes me more energized to want to make it a more joyful experience for them, because it should. It's art, and I love that. Even to think of it, I feel like even the DMV should have clowns like making like animal balloons for everyone. Wouldn't that make the experience a little more enjoyable?
You need to have a lot more laughter and fun in our lives. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, just turn that negative into positive. People that I've heard, road trips are too long. I'm like, well, make a trip, make a vacation out of that in between point A to point B, just like throw some of that.
You're exactly right. It's what you make it.
Yeah. And then a second part of answer to your question is I'd also like to state that the visual storytelling process involves a heavy dose of empathy. So I can I want to make sure I can truly pour their own hearts out to the world. All my clients, a lot of them are solopreneurs. So they're putting a lot of risk, finance, beyond the blood, sweat, and tears. And I think it's so important. And it's important to have such a great brand, because guess what? It gives them confidence, like a brand new pair of shoes. It also allows everybody to just be a little stress free, because if you had a bad brand or something that just wasn't speaking and you didn't do anything about it, then where are you going to go? All you're just going to do is just sit there and get stressed out over it. So.
Yeah. Now, and I didn't even know this until recently, but your company has a mascot like Yakoon, and it's enhanced so how does having him enhance your brand storytelling and identity? And maybe you can explain to everybody what Yakoon is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, well, first, how can you not smile when you see the Yakoon? Here, I'll show everybody just really quickly. Boop, 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 boop. So there he is. So it's just a crazy, wacky imagination. I would say that, he kind of ended up being more of my logo. So I'm going to show you really quick. Tiny Bee Studio. Plus, once you scan the QR code and get to me, when you look really close, in the N is a cave, and it's a silhouette of Yakoon, and he's casting the shadow of the A. So it's kind of neat. I love the logo. It's definitely holds close to my heart. But the
Can you pop Yakoon back up again? Because it paused for a second. So, there you go. Yeah, he's cool looking. Sorry, go ahead.
just a weird thing of like where I was just saying like we're all kind of mixed beings, we're hybrid, and I just wanted to do something unique. I didn't want it to be just a unicorn or something else like that. So this guy is a Yakoon, a baboon, and a wild boar. I'm creating bios to all my tiny beasts, and I have stories and everything. So it's kind of definitely manifested. So I would say that you know, if you throw a fate, like mascots have personalities, let's just say that. So whether you know, a living being or even an inanimate object, so, you know, you got a rock, throw a face on the rock, and you got Pam the pumice stone or whatever you want to call it. Like, there you go. You have something and it's memorable. I mean, here, I got a question for you. Think of the gecko, the bear, and a tiger. Who are those companies behind? The gecko,
Geico.
the polar bear,
Yeah, that Coca-Cola.
and tiger.
Oh, Tony the Tiger, Frosted Flakes.
Fun.
They stick
You know
with
what I
you.
mean?
They stick with you.
They do, and none of those animals have anything to do with like the product, really.
True.
I mean, you're not eating. I mean, they're not orange and black flakes, or I don't know. Anyway, so I just think if someone, you know, doesn't remember Tiny Beast Studio, even if they say like, was it Little Creature or something, like maybe they'll remember Yakoon at least too. I think there's a vernacular thing to tone to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you share a memorable experience where Yakoon played a significant role in one of your projects?
Oh, absolutely. Just recently, I was a speaker in a business lab with 4 others. It was SEO, it was social media, and I think Google reviews. And we all were like door number 1, 2, 3, 4. And my leader, Julie Nervelli, she's awesome. She wanted the Yakoon, asked, hey, can we have the Yakoon as our mascot for this promo? So I thought that was awesome. And then the other thing too is, you know, creating Yakoon and his friends, it's manifested into me writing and illustrating a book, a children's book. So I'm very excited to announce that to anybody that's new to this. I even have like a 10-book idea in my head too. So I have the main book coming out where it's just going to be them all grown up, and then origin stories to them all too. And then
almost like the first thing, you got the finish, then you got to go back and say, where did it come from?
I do. Yeah, it's kind of like the prequels. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they all come from eggs too, so it's kind of fun. I would say also the most exciting news I just recently received was, you know, and this is the power of connection with networking with LinkedIn is I just got hired to create a Tiny Beast for Colorado apparel company for their fall lineup. So I'm very excited about that. So I get to meld together like our state's, you know, amazing animals into something magical and unique for t-shirt lovers and more probably. So it's fun.
That is awesome. Yeah, that is definitely awesome. So I think we kind of covered a little bit, but basically why you did choose Tiny Beast Studio for your creative venture.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'll touch a little bit more on this. Like, you know, I would say in this world of tough competition, to land that big gig, I feel tiny. I feel so small, but yet pack a powerful, beastly punch in my industry. So, you know, you have your creative agencies, you have Fiverr, you have Upwork. I mean, there are people asking for like $50 logos on Fiverr, and they're getting done. I mean, and it's insane. And I've had so many clients come to me say, hey, I started off with Fiverr, but now I'm here with you because guess what? It was $50 logo.
Yeah. Truth be told, my clip art logo cost me $50.
There you go.
I didn't go to those sites, but that's what it cost me, and that was supposed to be a discounted deal. So, but yeah.
I tell you what, you're becoming my number 1 case study, and I love it. And then I would say the 2 new things too are that have been huge, as we know, AI. Mm-hmm. Not sure I feel too threatened about it quite yet. I don't know. I think it already has dipped into creative where people are just kind of cranking out things and getting PNGs or JPEGs or whatever they are. You could basically say whatever the heck you want and they'll produce it, and you could post it. So I don't know. I'm not too worried about that. And then Canva I think is great. I have nothing against Canva, but the one thing that I'm experiencing is after I deliver all of my my chapter 1 brand package to my clients, they then take their stuff and slap it on a template, more colors, adding more fonts, which also now led me to add more to my portfolio, which is custom backgrounds for Canva for people.
Yeah. And of course, if you get too far out of brand, you can count on Jeff to send you a note to say, hey, what's going on?
Yeah, I definitely have more to say to that too, a little later. But yeah, and then the other thing too, which is huge, and I'm not dogging this by any means, but the DIYers out there, beyond Canva, or hiring family members, like, hey, niece, you've taken a couple art classes, do this for me. It's a good support group. I love that. But once again, it does come back to me after a while. And I have nothing against anybody who, especially solopreneur, who just needs to start up and just get something slapped on there. And then eventually they'll make some money to afford, more professional, higher professional grade service there. Yeah. And then I've also realized in hindsight that I have so many influences that brought me to Tiny Beast. So obviously, like, these wild creations have like Tim Burton. I love Tim Burton. I love all like kind of sci-fi fantasy stuff. Where the wild things are. I brought props, people. I brought props.
There you go.
Where the wild things are. Dr. Seuss. Serendipity books. If you're older, like in the 70s, 80s, you'll know there's some great Weedle on the Needle, the Gabby. There's so many cool little stories there. And then even our wild, wondrous world. I mean, you look underwater, you go scuba diving, you go into the rainforest, and you're like, what is this from, like a different universe? Yeah. So I've just always been so fascinated. I have so many books on incredible animals from A to Z and all that kind of good stuff. And very, very, it's just all exciting. I'm so happy with the rebrand that I've had because it's just me. It truly is me.
And that's what it needs to be. And you bring two common things I'm sure we've all heard. For one, you get what you pay for. And two, you only have one shot to get a first impression. You don't have a second shot at a first impression. The things to think about when you're thinking about your brand and your logo.
Absolutely. And you know what? I also want to state this too. I've sometimes gone back to my clients saying, hey, you know what? I had this idea, this little tweak. And I know that you don't have your logo on a sign or vehicle wrap or anything. What do you think about this? So sometimes I'll even come back and say, hey, what do you think of this? Like, there's this one thing that was bothering me. There's a little off balance or something like that. And usually I'll get it. So, yeah, no.
Well, we still have a lot to talk about, like what role the color theory and all that plays in creating impactful and memorable visuals. But right now we need to take a quick word from our sponsors and we will be right back.
Hey, we got soul. Oh yeah, we got soul.
Hi, I'm Bobby Aldridge with BAM Metrics. There are so many programs out there that measure your swing speed, sets, reps, your BMI, your body fat, but the one thing they're not measuring that's so essential is mobility. Mobility is the key. If you're measuring your mobility, your performance will get better and you will reduce your pain. I created BAM Metrics to make it easy for people to repeat the exercises so they could do it properly at home on their own. It's simple, it's easy to do, and from a senior to a pro athlete.
Relief for PTSD, anxiety, pain, insomnia, and many other ailments. Introducing Vibe, the world's only pocket PEMF device. You place it in your pocket while cooking, cleaning, relaxing, watching TV, sitting at your computer, reading, or walking. Self-contained standalone device. No drugs. No other phone or Bluetooth connections required. No monthly subscription fees. No apps to download. No Bozone. The future of medicine is in the frequencies. Come join the revolution.
So, Jeff, maybe you can tell us, what role does color theory play when you're creating an impactful and memorable brand visual?
Yeah, it's so huge. I remember taking a deep dive in color theory in college. One thing I loved about college, back in my days was that technology wasn't quite there with all the programs. So they really taught us a lot about design concept and theories and practices and stuff. So, I mean, I remember actually even inking ads instead of actually anything on digital. It was really cool. The marker inking, I don't know. So, that was a blast from the past. So yeah, I remember, yeah. So the color theory, in college, it just stuck with me. I can go through all the adjectives that describe every color. That would take us hours, so I'm not going to do that. But what's important is that I use colors that not only like please the client, but more so can connect with the audience. So I'll occasionally talk a client out of a color because it's their favorite color and they really want it to be their color. But I'm like, this is not quite there yet. You may not want to use red when you're promoting massage therapy. You know, yes, it symbolizes love and you love that. But it can be very loud and bold, and you know, it can even inject caution into the audience, like even at a subconscious level. You know, so whether we are thinking directly about the color or talking about it, or when we're not, actually, it's actually happening behind the scenes with our emotions. I'll give you a great example is White Sands Self-Care with Laura Cross. You should check her out. She's a perfect example of proper color scheme. I think you provide mindfulness with self-care and also have an affection for dolphins. And I think that's really cool. So there's your mascot, which is a great one.
And Miami Dolphins, got my Miami Dolphin colors in there.
Exactly. And, I don't know if you're a huge fan of Dan Marino, but, I could change your logo if you want.
Yeah, no. I like it. I like it the way it is.
Right. And I remember you wanting the oranges and the kind of the aquamarines to be part of that because of the Miami Dolphins. But I also wanted to make sure that it wasn't, oranges can vary. So can, aquamarines. They could be like super bright, especially on screen too with RGB and CMYK for printing and all that kind of stuff. So I think, just dimming down, a little bit of the orange, making it a little bit softer, your aquamarines, giving it a couple softer, lighter tones, and then adding the beiges, to represent like kind of your sands. Not white sands, because it would just be white. White sands, aren't they kind of slightly off white? Maybe not.
They are, depending on where you are. And it's not for White Sands, Mexico. I always tell people it's White Sands from the St. Thomas beaches, because that's where one of the places my parents loved. And when I needed a name for travel, that's what we came up with. But for me, orange is it happens to be Miami Dolphin, but for me, it's like sunsets. I love sunsets. And the blue is like for the Caribbean blue water, because it is so crystal clear. You can see to the bottom. And absolutely love the Caribbean water, but it all kind of goes together. Got to make sure it was not, I may have lived in Colorado for 35 years, but I had to make sure it was not the orange and blue to be misunderstood to be a Bronco fan. So,
right.
Nope,
exactly.
got to go the other way.
I love that. Yeah, no, and I'm so glad that you already had great colors to choose from. And they just suit your logo, your brand very well. So,
well, you actually help pull them out. But like you said, that's a good point, because a lot of people may not realize, and it's something I learned kind of more recently, but colors can actually change your mood, your tone. Like you said, massage therapy, you want it to be relaxing. You don't want people feeling like they should go or be this. And if you don't know that, a lot of people, I don't think, put that into thought when they do stuff. Like you said, sometimes they may just go, because this is my favorite color, but they don't think about how it reflects or how people are going to respond to it. They might want them to respond to it.
No, absolutely. And I encourage anybody to, whatever industry you're in, just go on Google and say, hey, I'm in this industry. What colors reflect me well, or just type in color theory, and you'll see all the emotions that are tied in, because I think some of them can be conflicting, but it depends on your industry. So when somebody comes to you, they're already pretty much going to be calm, because they know that they're going into your profession and they're getting help. And I don't know. I find like yellow could be, very alert, but it's also very calming and happy and sunshine. So yeah, I think, and what I love about your colors too is it totally matches your personality as well. It's your calm soul, it's your calm demeanor, and your playfulness too, like a dolphin. So all this is perfect. And then I'll give one example of my last client, Jessie Bowser from Essential Beauty Co. She's just badass. Sorry, is that a swear?
No, you're fine. Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
So she is a makeup artist and she has tattoos. She just kind of has this edge to her, but a lot of her clientele are brides, and it's a very feminine forward product, that a service that she's selling. So she's like, I don't want to just I don't want my clientele to just be like goth and biker chicks, right, or whatever you want to call it.
the rebel.
Yeah. But I also don't want to be off-putting to any brides or anything like that are maybe on the more feminine, softer side. So how do we do this? So the logo's on the website too, you can see, but it's EB, and it's this cool swash, and her favorite color is like a emerald jade green. And I said, you know what, let's keep that as an accent color. So we stuck with black in the beginning, and then I was like, you know what? We need to make this like your vibrant pink, like the lipstick you're wearing. She's like, that's my color too. So there's pinks all the time. It's this vibrancy. And I'm like, guess what? This pink, even though it's an edgy, cool vibe, it's also going to relate to a lot of the ones that love the pink, the Barbies and and beyond. So
I know if Pepper says pink, you think Barbie automatically. Especially with the Barbie movie that came out, not too long ago. But it's amazing how colors, different things, like you said, trigger us, and they were done with purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely.
So how do you ensure that each client's brand identity remains true to their voice and personality?
Remains is the key word here. And that's through brand consistency. I mean, that's the repeating your mission statement, sticking with taglines that like fit your company's voice. You could change your tagline from time to time. Maybe not every day, but I think a certain consistency would be great. Not veering away from like your solid 3 to 5 color scheme. Fonts play a huge role as well. I suggest not even using more than 3 fonts. You could do like almost your accent font too, like a fun one. But if you have one font you use and want another to complement it, I would say Google it too. It's amazing. I'm going to keep saying Google. Brought to you by Google. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But it's worked for me too, because I've gone to Adobe and I've said, hey, I have this one font. I'm looking for like a really good match to it. If it's a sans serif, maybe you want a serif font. And then another, to answer the question too, another answer is I have my Yakoon's, brand concierge too. That's a big part of what I do, where I make sure that after I create an initial brand package, I follow up with educational, tidbits, tips, anything that, making sure your website, your social media, email marketing, even like your banners, your print materials, anything. I just want to make sure that stays consistent. I think that's very important. As you know, as I said before, Canva is here now, and a lot of people are just slapping their things on these templates, and there's a huge disconnect. So, it is very convenient. It's easy. You're paying a small fee for Canva, but just ask your designer to help, or say, hey, how does this look? Even if you want to do it yourself, maybe do that, because guess what? We can spot the cookie cutting designs out there. I mean, I'm spotting AI designs. I'm like, yeah, this is going to hurt in the long run for sure. It's neat. It's fun. It's very creative, it almost looks impossible for a designer to do.
Well, and there's so many platforms out there. So on some platforms don't even have all the fonts that you might be used to. So you might have to find something else if you're using a particular platform, if that font's not available. Or like you said, even if you have the dimensions and you use Canva, I've been there and done that, but you put that in there, you don't realize actually how it distorts your image unless it's properly tweaked to fit that space. Because if you just kind of like stretch it or try to make it fit, either runs off or cuts or it'll blur, it actually distorts the pictures.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yep, exactly. So, yeah, and with Canva and even website design, like building your website, whether it's WordPress or whatever, there's codes out there for certain fonts if you don't have the actual physical file. But I do recommend, I'm going to say this again, Google Fonts.
Google Fonts.
Yeah, there's so many. I mean, you could just use Google Fonts and upload them yourself, and there's a way to do it. So, yep.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing what we have at our fingertips, but knowing enough to be dangerous and wanting it done right are two different things.
Exactly.
So how has your background as an artist shaped your unique illustrations and graphic designs?
Yeah. Okay. This is a good question because I actually had like an argument with an ex-coworker back in the days because she was a designer but didn't have a fine arts background. And I guess I kept mentioning like, well, it's good to have this. And she's like, why? I have nothing against, I think there are plenty of designers out there without fine arts background that design perfectly fine on the digital platform and everything like that. But I think as an artist though, it's right brain power. Like I walk around, so heavy because I'm so, to the right side tipping there because I'm so heavily right brained that I just feel like I have the ability to see things from a different perspective. I've had people say, wow, where'd you get that from? I'm like, I don't know, this wacky imagination of mine. So I think that plays a huge part. Perhaps it's a more vivid imagination or maybe we're just, because we have the tools and it's usually our hand being able to draw is to be able to showcase like the dream I just had last night onto paper or whatever ideas or thoughts I'm having. So I don't know. I think it's super duper, important to have that ability, but not necessary for sure, as I've learned.
So that brings up another question. Do you ever struggle with that creativity part, or does it just come naturally? Because I know there's times where I'm feeling creative and I can do stuff. And there's other times it's just like, yeah, I feel like I don't have a creative bone in my body. Do you ever have those times where you just kind of get stuck? And if you do, how do you get yourself back into focus?
Yeah, no, I'd say I don't. I'm perfect.
We know that's a myth.
Yeah, definitely a creator's block for sure. It's very frustrating because as an artist, I just want to have that answer. I just want to make sure I have it. So a lot of times, like a painter does to their canvas, you just have to step back 10 feet just to look and see it from a different perspective. Maybe step away and do something else and come back, do another project. That's another reason I love freelance is I can be working with 3 clients at the same time. If I'm struggling with one, let me go to the other one. And guess what? Maybe that other one even had an answer for me for this one. So it's pretty wild. But absolutely. For me, I think it's so important just for anybody to just keep drawing. Just keep writing. If you're a writer, go to the garden, plant something new, go to the grocery store, find a new ingredient. Don't even look at the cookbook. Go find an ingredient, go find a turnip, baby bok choy or whatever that you've never cooked with and come home and then figure something out.
Yeah. You'll
be surprised how much it changes your ideals, your thought process.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can do when you get out of your own way, because I know a lot of us have that issue.
Oh, I trip over myself all the time.
So in what ways do you believe storytelling can deepen the connection between a brand and its audience?
Okay. Do you want a history lesson?
Sure.
I'll give you a little bit about consumerism. I said, because I had told a story to one of my network groups about this too. So back in the early 1900s, probably like the early 19th century, or the late 19th century, to the early 20th century, A lot of advertising was Coca-Cola products, Marlboro, many more. It was literally about the product, about its benefits, about the characteristics of it. And then we evolved, and wars happened. Consumerism got a little softer. We got a little more sentimental. We wanted more connection. We wanted more peace and love. And I think, and then you keep going, you keep diving in, and the internet kicked into gear. Now everybody is just pouring their stories to the world to be heard. I mean, we all have all of this device that we're hooked on, and I try not to, but it happens.
Yeah.
But you can go to the peak of Machu Picchu and take pictures, and here's the story you're telling. I think it's amazing. It's overrunning our lives, in my opinion, but perhaps it's good for a designer's perspective, because I think it's really cool. So I would say ultimately the present right here, that valuation is the key word to our present economy and in the marketing and advertising industry. So everybody wants to be a part of a story. And my big thing is to make sure that my clients are the heroes. Most heroes have problems or faults in the beginning, and I'm just here to guide them. I'm here to just have them find their special, unique power. And so, yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, we discussed that at an event that I was at one time, about how, everybody where they've got, you may be the hero, now, but every hero has like a traumatic or tragedy, backstory before they got there.
Yeah, I mean, and you could go as easy as Luke Skywalker, with Ben Kenobi, and to so many. I mean, just name a movie, there's
Batman, yeah. 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 So can you walk us through the process of creating, you have what's called choose your adventure style branding experience for clients. Can you walk us through that process?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Tiny Bee Studio has kind of evolved into more of a storybook feel. Makes sense, right? Where the wild things are and all that kind of stuff. So I also remember beyond the children's books, getting into the teens before Harry Potter's and everything, the Choose Your Adventure books. They're still around. It's amazing. And I found one the other day, and I had to get it because I'm like, oh my God, it brought me back. But Zombie Pen Pal, here, let me, whoop.
Yep.
I mean, how the times have changed. I don't think they ever talked about zombies back then, but maybe they did. I mean, there's Night of the Living Dead, but not the kids. So I love that approach with my clients, because so here, I'll just break it down. So I basically have like 4 doors that you can open. So my first client would be my favorite client, which would be, hey, I have this grand idea, but I don't have a name. I don't have a brand. I don't know anything about art or design or marketing or anything. I'm like, yeah, all right. Let's begin.
Free range.
Free range, exactly. Naming, I tell you what, I love naming companies. I spend probably more time naming, trying to find a name than actually the design. I think it is so important. Once again, you could stake out those cookie cutter names out there, or the ones that are generated by AI and everything. It's just the way it is. Client number 2, okay, I have a name, but I don't have a brand. Love that. Client 3, oh my gosh, my logo's from the 1980s, and I've just been dragging ass. So I need you, I'm out of the medieval times, and I need you to update my logo. I'm doing that more, actually, and that's part of a lot of my sales, I guess. I don't even like calling it cold calls, but warm calls, whatever. Just suggesting, just saying, hey, what do you think about your brand? Is it really telling your story? Is it really kind of projecting your voice out there? Do you want it on a t-shirt? That's my huge tagline. Like, if you're not proud enough to have your logo on a t-shirt, it's time to do something. Or maybe your logo, maybe you work for like an insurance company. You're like, I don't really need a logo on my t-shirt, but it's kind of cool to have like a mascot on there or something memorable. Just saying.
Memorable. Yep.
And then client number 4 would be, I got everything because you did it for me. Or, hey, another designer did it for me, and I love what I have. I just need more. So I am a graphic designer. I call myself a brand designer because it's glorified. It's just it's glorified. But I definitely focus more on the logos and the branding and the story behind it. So vehicle wraps, brochures, getting you on a billboard. I'll do design. I'll design tattoos. I'll design murals. Whatever you want, I'm here.
I have to keep that in mind for vehicle wraps. Sandals has come off because it was so old and out of date, but yeah, we'll talk in the future sometime about that. So, but your process though, I mean, you have the different options, but your process really, it's not like, and unless you've tweaked it and changed it, because I know when I went through it with you, we had about 3-4 rounds or something where you had ideas and we started trimming them down. And so it's something that takes time.
Absolutely. So yeah, let's definitely talk a little more about this because I'm going to go back to empathy. And it's just like you with your clients. You'll never just start something until you get to know them and what their woes are and all that kind of stuff. So for me, it is the initial meetup, the interview, the date, whatever you want to call it, the hot date. And then I follow up with a questionnaire. I always have this questionnaire. It involves, I wouldn't even say it's a heavy dose. After the interview, after that first meetup, I just want to make sure that you have time to think a little bit more and give more on paper. So I have a bunch of questions about your business, and then it dips into a little bit of art. So it can be about, what are your favorite colors? What don't you like? And if you don't want to answer any of that and just give me a blank canvas, that's totally fine too. But I always start off with that. And then that's kind of where the magic begins then, because then I can kind of estimate the time and quote you and then move from there. So, and then I with package deals and usually it's the branding, it's the business cards, it's the simple stuff. And then it's my chapter 1. And then anything beyond that, I could add to the chapter or we can make that chapter 2. But I would definitely love anybody to come back and just keep your brand consistent with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, you're passionate about it, you're heartfelt, and I love that you take that time to get to know the person so that it really truly, like I said, reflects the essence of the person, which is what the logo and brand should do in the first place. Yeah. So what advice would you give to aspiring designers looking to make their mark in the creative industry?
Do you guys want my advice, kiddos? Just kidding. Just keep educating yourselves. Software skills, you could fall behind. I've fallen behind, and there's an update every other day, and there's new things, especially with AI. And I know there's a lot of AI tools out there that do it for you. Try to avoid that too. Learn it from YouTube videos, Adobe videos, whatever you need. There's Skillshare out there. Linda, all sorts of good stuff. Just get deep into the marketing trends too. Don't get too trendy. I think the most important thing when you're designing brands is timelessness. Sure, if somebody wants to change their logo every 3 years, it depends on the industry. That could happen. But for the most part, you just try to keep it as timeless as possible. Look into the marketing trends. Draw. You just got to keep drawing. Write. Whatever you need to do, just keep at it. You have the skill, but the most important thing is the research too. Understanding your client's personality, their inspirations, their voice, just their overall industry, their competition, and the audience. I mean, all of that together is one big package of being able to just emit the essence of branding for them. And then, here's the most important thing, really. Have fun. Don't sweat the details. They're here for a reason. Your clients are here for a reason. They need you. They're not the artists. They don't have time for that anyway, even if they try to do it. So I think that's kind of the most important thing is just know your value and stick to it. Don't sink too low in your value and your price. There's plenty of people out there that will respect you and pay you for the price. And, the other thing too, is you just got to know that they have confidence and trust in you, even if you don't see it, if you don't feel it, round one comes and, hey, this is cool. How about round two? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm in my head now. Do they not like it? Are they just saying cool? Like I've had clients like you where it's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I'm like, oh, good. That made me feel good. And then there's some that just don't, but you don't always know the behind the scenes personality too, with a lot of them with communication. Sure. So, and my tagline, I would say is, my main tagline is, don't tame your brand.
I love that too. So we have a few minutes left. What words do you want to leave with the audience, potential future clients, or people that are struggling with the logo and brand idea?
Oh boy. Just kind of going back to, just hire a professional. You just have to. I love creating. I'm not dogging on any of the competition for sure. I think there's creative agencies that can do it all. I do want to plug one more thing in. I designed my Tiny Beast studio in Squarespace, and I've kind of like really enjoyed it. And I think I want to add that to my portfolio to like, hey, you know what, as long as it's Squarespace, I'm happy to develop a brand, a website for you. I think that's where the other part of where, the brand consistency comes into is like, hey, you know what, the guy who built my brand is actually doing the design, the logo too. But my biggest thing too is when you're branding yourself, and this is something I was going to say earlier. So after I left the corporate world, I was like, I don't know what I want to do. Maybe, I was always doing freelance on the side for friends and stuff. Maybe I will try this full time. I think I'd love to kind of have that flexibility. I think I'd love to have multiple clients, and I love networking. Obviously you can see that I'm a little bit of an extrovert. I don't know. Can you tell?
Yeah, just a little.
It suits me well. So I would say, so I started getting these voices, from friends like, hey, what should I do? Like, what, you go with your name. It's awesome. It's great for SEO. So I went with Jeff Farinosi Design. I'm like, all right, how am I going to design this? So my logo was a J and an F. And then if you flip it over, it was still a J and an F. And I was like, that's cool. It was fine. I did it. I did it in Wix. I use Wix as my, another great service too. But I never wanted that on a shirt after a while. And when I was networking with somebody, I can't even remember his name. I'm so sad about this, but he said, you should be, are you happy with your brand? I said, I'm probably not.
Turn the tables on you.
I totally did. And I might have I probably said something like, about how I'm thinking about rebranding. I can't remember, but he said, you should brand like you brand for your clients. You should take that amount of time like you do for them, and it should be you. So I think that's kind of how Tiny Beast has evolved. I spent months and months developing my logo, and I think, don't just jump into like your name if you're not happy with it. Like find something that's true to you, find a good story behind it, a good theme, and just go with it. So
yeah, when I met you, you were the JF.
Right. And
I still have that card somewhere too.
Now, if I gave you, a t-shirt with a Yakoon on it, wouldn't you be a lot more excited than like the JF logo, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's cool. He's a cool creature.
By the way, we got to get you on a shirt.
That is on my list of things to do.
Oh man. Yes. I want
and a car wrap. I'll need a new car wrap for my Mustang, but
I love that.
So Jeff, I want to thank you so much for taking the time and sharing all this with the audience. I really appreciate all your knowledge and insights.
Thank you. And, thank you again for having me. And this platform is amazing. I mean, the amount of viewers that you have, it just shows how much of a connection you make and how much you influence people's lives and everything with your amazing personality and beyond. So I would like to thank you again. And yeah.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. And anybody watching, obviously you can see how passionate Jeff is about bringing out your true essence in your logo or brand. So if that is something you are struggling with, do the mindfulness thing, take that stress off your plate, and connect with Jeff. Never hurts to have a free consultation or call to see if, you're good fit and can work, or what he can do for you. So thank you, everyone, so much for joining us, and we will see you again next week.